My name is Kristin Tolar, and I am a teacher at Benton High School in Bossier Parish. The issue that I'm most passionate about is literacy and creating lifelong readers who become lifelong learners. I want to get kids excited about reading and engaged in challenging texts that take them out of their comfort zone and, most importantly, make them think. Literacy affects every aspect of education and life, and if I can inspire them here, imagine the possibilities to come. Today's lesson is about analyzing the development of an argument and how rhetorical appeals and literary devices contribute to the efficacy of the author's claim. This lesson is the last in a series of lessons featuring nonfiction articles centered around the question, what is the value of work for teenagers? These students are all in the 9th grade, so this is a topic that reaches them on a very real level in their lives at this point. Each day, we've analyzed and annotated articles with varying structures and rhetorical appeals, identifying each author's claims, their position on the topic, and the techniques they use to make those claims. This unit is from College Board's Pre-AP English 1 framework and is one of the most important that we do because it functions on 2 levels in terms of class goals. First, at the end of the unit, students will complete a timed cold read where they will analyze and evaluate a series of articles and respond in a 5 to 7 paragraph essay identifying each author's claim, the techniques they use to make the claim, and the efficacy of each argument. This cold read very closely mimics what the students will need to do on the LEAP exam for English 1 and prepares them for that challenge. Additionally, I work very closely with our AP language teacher to introduce and scaffold for students the terms and concepts that they will encounter in AP English language during their junior year, which ultimately strengthens our AP program as a whole. What you need to know about these students is that although we are designated as a pre-AP class, I have a diverse group of students with varying levels of proficiency in English. There are no restrictions or requirements to participate in a pre-AP class beyond the desire to do so. Many of my students love reading, but for many, text engagement and analysis can be a struggle. In this lesson, the goal is to reach all learners. Students who struggle with how to dig deeper into the text are given an annotation guide, while students who need more enrichment practice are encouraged to annotate at their own pace, helping guide their peers and even answering difficult peer questions. For struggling readers, I visited each group to guide students through the text. Students with questions were guided to dig deeper into the text and draw their own conclusions while having me ask further higher order questions instead of providing them with the answers, encouraging them ultimately to think critically. Okay, good job. This time, before we talk about it as a large group, I'd like you to turn to your shoulder partner. And if you'll look on the handout you picked up today, you're going to see the says does activity that we've been doing all week, where you analyze what the author says, just like we've done together. And then you tell me how he's doing it. What is he doing in these paragraphs to support his claim? I'm so proud of you. You're doing such a good job today. You're doing a good job. Well, you read really well. You've had some interesting things to say today. Yes, you did.
I said I work at Nearly, and I said I like it.
You're participating. Proud of you. Are y'all stuck?
I read paragraph 5.
He says like so many different points.
Okay.
Like each paragraph has a different point, and he jumps. But I'm not finding anything that like legitimately proves it until paragraph 7.
Okay, well that's a great point. If he seems to be jumping around, if it seems like he's going from topic to topic, writers at this level don't make mistakes. Now, you could credit that to disorganization, and that would be kind of a minus category, right? But at the same time, there's a purpose to it. It's not like he got distracted when he was writing the article and was like, oh, whoops, let me change topics. So that means there's a reason. There's a reason we're jumping. Why? That's when we ask that big question, why? Why does the author make the choice to give multiple examples in a row?
So,
how do they connect?
The first one, he's talking about like paragraph 4, not 5. He's talking about how parents are trying like to not get their kids to work.
Okay.
Then to 6, he like directly talks about that one guy with the corn, because he's talking about like teenagers can find jobs if they want to. I think that's the reason why he added paragraph 6, because it doesn't really join in with everything else other than that like point. You know?
Okay, so parents are, if you place it in the larger context, teen jobs are declining. How does that help us see paragraph 5? If teen jobs are declining, what does paragraph 5 provide?
Like
A reason, yeah, Chloe, a reason why teen jobs are declining. But then what do 6 and 7 do?
7 is talking about how kids actually do work. 3 lifeguards interviewed or college.
Seven talks about like how like not all of them have the same needs, like as it says in there, like not all of them have to work, but some of them feel like they need to work.
Right, some choose to work, some don't have to work. So he's absolutely, I think we've got a refutation here, right? He's addressing Sassa's claim, but then kind of complicating it a little bit. So he tells us, okay, one of the reasons why the teen work is declining is because parents are discouraging teens from working. But there is the availability of jobs, paragraph 6, and some teens do choose to work. So I think his purpose here might be to complicate the issue. It's not as simple as what Ben Sass said. You know that teens are just lazy and they don't want to work, and as parents we have to get involved and get in there. He's like, it's more complicated than that. He's almost blurring the picture a bit, if that makes sense here. He's responding to Sass. So you guys have to decide why. How does that actually contribute to his larger purpose? If he's blurring the picture, if he's responding to Sass here, how does that help his claim? How does that support his claim?
Okay.
Or what you think his claim may be?
Did we read this or did I?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
What's this?
We're just looking at 4 through 8.
You were right.
We're just looking at 4 through 8.
Okay.
6 is him taking another shot at Sass.
Right, I saw that before.
7 is that not only teens can get the same job, they have different needs and different reasons. That's
Right.
7. And then 8 is talking about minimum wage and the changing economy, and that's why they don't want to hire people, because it was a crunch in 2008. So all these experienced factory workers came in and took all the jobs.
Good, Elijah.
And then since that died down, now they're getting more teens again.
Right.
Nice job.
But how do they
That was a lot of information
go
at
together?
There you go. But how do they go together? That's a good question, Evan. That's the hard work of analysis.
Highlighting the fact that Dixon is a conservative town, and they had to take adults in because they were just more experienced. That was the changing economy, and then now they're back to the well-meaning adults because now they're hiring teens again because that's not an issue. So generally, conservative adults are the ones that want their kids to get jobs. So,
Okay, so
I don't know.
those are all the puzzle pieces. So Elijah's giving you all the pieces. Now you've got to make the puzzle. This is not easy. This is not easy. Analysis is not easy because we have to try to figure out the whys. Not just the whats. We can find the things. We're good at that. We can find the evidence. The why is when we get into, but how? It's the thinking part. Looking into the author's purpose and trying to work backwards. Okay, this is his claim. How does it all fit together? The claim is kind of like the picture on the puzzle box. We know where we're going. So then we use our rhetorical tools to try to figure out how to make the pieces fit together to get that picture. Hang in there. You just ask yourself why. You don't know where we're going. Okay, well that's a valid point.
Because this article is basically saying the same thing Sass did, but it's like not.
But it's right. He's also arguing with him. It seems like he's complicating the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, so if he seems to be consistently complicating the issue,
He has to have a different point.
or maybe that is his point.
That it's complicated.
That it's complicated. That it's complicated. It's not that simple. He says sass, man. It's just not that simple. Teens aren't just lazy. Okay, let's come back together because I'm hearing a pattern in your conversations. Yeah, you did. You did figure it out. I'm proud of you. Okay, Elijah, I heard you saying some really good stuff. Can you summarize the paragraphs for us? Because you were doing that really well for your group. Say what he says.
So he references sass again because he says detasseling corn, cold mornings, and scratches from corn leaves, which is exactly what he said. He highlights the fact that Dixon is a conservative town, and then he references the economy crunch of 2008, and that kind of like the more experienced adults that came in and took teens' jobs, and now that that's gone, they're hiring more teens. And what that does is it develops his point that there's a lot of complexity with this issue, and you can't just sum it all up in one story and one solution and one point, which is why I think he referenced sass, because that's what he tried to do.
Right. Yeah, Sass gave us this narrative. Teens are lazy. Parents aren't parenting, or we're parenting too long. And teens aren't taking the initiative to get out there, to do the work, to learn the things. And we as parents need to step in and fix it, make them work. Now, what does he seem to be doing? Because I heard you saying, Nathaniel, some good stuff too. So he references sass. He says it's complicated. These paragraphs were kind of confusing. Why?
Because he jumps around from point to point in each different paragraphs and addresses like a different topic.
Okay, so we've got to see some purpose in that, right? He didn't accidentally get distracted. So if he's addressing multiple things back to back, there has to be a reason in his larger point, in his purpose.
So I think this section is actually on purpose because it's complicated. Changing and raising the complexity of how he's saying things and when he's saying things and changing things multiple times throughout the section, he's kind of emphasizing the fact that it's not as cut and simple as other people say it is, because Sass's article, just referencing it was kind of he only went off track one time, and it was just kind of to say the same thing again.
A different way.
So it was kind of bit by bit by bit by bit, same thing over and over again. So instead of that, he's making it complex and he's giving different points.
I feel like the lesson objectives were met with this lesson because the students were able to get through the idea that this author's claim was much more complicated than some of the previous articles. The author was responding to a previous article that we had read, and instead of presenting a very straightforward claim at the beginning of the article, he complicated the issue, forcing students to figure out how the structure actually contributed to the message that he was trying to get across. Students were engaged, they were asking good questions, and they were beginning to grapple with the idea of why. So I really felt like they were able to dig into the text, ultimately coming to a conclusion about the author's claim and how he got there. I think if I were to teach this lesson again, I would like to incorporate a response where the students are actually able to put their answers into a writing of some sort and begin to integrate evidence to show how the author completes the challenge, how the author is able to give their claim, and how students are seeing that information synthesized in writing. So students will ultimately turn in their annotations, which will be graded, and we will evaluate together the same way we started this lesson, looking at how Lexington thinks and feels about work, what he values work because he values work so, he values work but, and then come to a conclusion as a class about his overall claim. Then they will synthesize all of the arguments, and we will come together to figure out what is the value of work for teenagers. What I really love about this unit is that it offers students the opportunity to engage in content that has real-world application. We're evaluating, and for some of these students for the first time, whether or not a source is trustworthy, we're looking at rhetoric. We're looking at how to determine what someone is saying versus how they're saying it, and if that source is a trustworthy source. Students engage with this type of analysis across all curriculums and ultimately will use the ability to discern trust but verify, trustworthiness, anytime they approach any issue, a voting poll, or anything that they're trying to figure out in their adult lives. This is probably our most important unit in growing students into citizens.